Which players are we avoiding in drafts? Find out next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Friday, March 7th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. BUSTS 2.0, players we are avoiding. And Chris, will just go back and forth. You are up with another addition to BUSTS 2.0.
Yeah, and let's go with some famous last words. Let's doubt Shohei Ohtani, because that's worked out really well for everyone who's done it before. Look, this is not about Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher. This is specifically Shohei Ohtani, parentheses, pitcher, close parentheses. I think he'll be fine as a hitter. I think he'll be great. He should be one of the first 3 players drafted in every format when he's a hitter. As a pitcher, however, we learned on Thursday that he has not thrown off of a mound in about 10 days. And there is no timetable for him to throw off a mound. And we already knew that he wasn't going to pitch in the spring, and he's not going to go on a minor league rehab assignment when he makes his MLB debut, which means that the first pitch Shohei Ohtani throws in anger to an opposing hitter this season will likely come sometime in June or July, and it will be the first pitch he has thrown to an opposing batter since September of 2023. I just don't think there's any way you can draft Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher, expecting anything from him. If you want to make him a late round flyer, if you're in a league that is going to have him IL eligible as a pitcher, especially, okay, that's fine. But if he's not going to be IL eligible, especially, you're talking about waiting 2, maybe 3 months for a guy who's going to take up a roster spot on your lineup, who is not a guarantee to come back and throw 6 innings per start. In fact, I would think that's extremely unlikely. They're going to work him back pretty slowly. So I don't really see Shohei Ohtani making an impact as a pitcher until the second half of the season in a best case scenario. And he's been getting drafted where he is SP eligible around 40th overall at the position. That's way too high. I think he is a bench stash in a best case scenario.
Completely agree. I do want to preface my picks by saying that I hate fun and that I realize this is incredibly dangerous what I'm about to say. Ronald Acuña is a player I have been fading this season because I do not like to take risks early on in drafts, and I think Acuña is a big one. He is a late second, early third round pick. He's coming back from another torn ACL. He has now torn the ACL in both of his knees. We know that he's already going to miss at least the first month of the season. Last time he returned from a torn ACL, he did not look like that MVP caliber player. The last time we saw Ronald Acuña in 2024, he did not look like that MVP caliber player. Will he run as much? How much time will it take him to shake off the rust? I just think there are a lot of questions here. And based on using a second or third round pick, it's just not something that I personally am going to do. He could be the number 1 player from May 1st on. He also could just be a shell of his former self, and you used an early round pick to find that out. So it's just not going to be for me. Chris, back over to you for another bust.
Yeah, let's go with Pete Crow Armstrong, who I think there's a lot to like about him as a player, especially a real life player. He might be the best defensive center fielder in baseball already. It's going to keep him in the lineup, but I think people are drafting him way too high with an ADP in the 120 to 135 range. I just can't really see him living up to that unless he's just an outlier source of stolen bases, because I think the bat here is pretty weak. He had 1 month in 2024 where he had more than 50 plate appearances and an OPS higher than 700. That was in August when he had a 933 OPS. And look, the underlying stats actually backed it up. In the month of August, he had a 353 expected WOBA. He hit the ball harder. Plate discipline was much, much better. There were reasons to be optimistic. And then September came, and his xWOBA dropped to 278. His strikeout rate was back almost to 30% in the month. I think there's a legitimate chance Pete Crow Armstrong is a 35 stolen base source who doesn't really do anything else for you. I would rather, if it was just straight up Pete Crow Armstrong versus Victor Robles, okay, I'll take Pete Crow Armstrong. He's younger. He's on the upswing. All of that makes sense. He's going, 80 picks ahead of Pete Crow Armstrong or Victor Robles on average? I just can't justify that gap.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be back right after this.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
Welcome back in FBT Express. This is BUSTS 2.0. And remember earlier I said I hate fun. Well, O'Neal Cruz is fun, and he is another one that can make me look completely foolish. But his ADP last year was 61.8. He had a fine season. He went 2020. He finishes the 78th overall player in Roto. He averaged 2.7 fantasy points per game. And now his ADP is 46.8. It has gone up 15 picks. So I just still think there are big flaws in O'Neal Cruz's game. 30% strikeout rate, bad zone contact, bad swinging strike rate, still really bad against lefties, a 686 OPS last year, 40% strikeout rate against lefties in his career. And he hits too many ground balls to be able to maximize that massive raw power potential. We just haven't really seen that in games yet. Yet is the word. Now, he could eventually get there. It's just some drafts I see him go in the third or fourth round of 12-team leagues. So it's too high of a price tag for me. I understand the upside, but I do still think there are some major flaws in O'Neal Cruz's game. Chris, back to you for another bust.
Yeah, and this time we're going to go with a relief pitcher, Robert Suarez. When I'm talking about relief pitchers to avoid, the main thing that I'm looking for is not, this guy might have a mid-threes ERA or he might not get 30 saves. What I'm really looking to avoid is the bottom falling out. And that's what I think the risk is for Robert Suarez, because the way he pitches, he's got awesome fastballs and he knows it because he throws them about 87% of the time combined, his four-seamer and sinker. And last year that worked out really well for him, right up until it didn't. And after the All-Star break, his ERA was over 4. His strikeout rate, which was never particularly great to begin with, collapsed. His walk rate got really high in September. I just worry that this is a profile with a very slim margin for error for Robert Suarez, and his velocity has been down a little bit so far in spring, about a mile and a half per hour. I'm not so worried about that's the primary reason for calling him a bust, but it's not like he can lose much and have something else to fall back on. If those fastballs go from elite to just pretty good, I think the whole profile could collapse. And I think there's a decent chance Robert Suarez ends up losing his job at some point this season.
And there are other really talented relievers in that bullpen. Jason Adam and Jeremiah Estrada have shown that they can do this. Jason Adam, a longer track record than someone like Estrada, but Adam's been really good for a long time. So if Robert Suarez falters, I could see either one of those guys stepping in for saves this season. Last bust for me is going to be Luis Castillo. The decline has started, and I just have a bad feeling about the way that it's trending. The swinging strike rate dropped tremendously from 14.7% in 2023 down to 11.8% last season. His fastball velocity continues to drop. It was 97 miles per hour back in 2022, 95.6 miles per hour last year. So continuing to drop down. He got hit really hard by lefties last season. The changeup took a step back, which I think kind of explains why he might have gotten hit so hard by lefties. And the ERA estimators have all been closer to 4 the past 2 seasons. So I just wonder if maybe that ERA could be a little bit more inflated this year. Fastball velocity and effectiveness has diminished a little bit. Still a great environment to pitch in, and should be a good team. We'll see if he can get some run support with the Mariners. But it's just I worry about this decline here for Luis Castillo. And the ADP is just inside the top 90 picks. There are other really, really good pitchers going in that range as well. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.